Have you ever watched someone's entire life fall apart because people chose to believe a rumor instead of the truth? In a quiet town in England, one teacher lost everything after being punished for doing the right thing. But what happened next would shock an entire school, and prove that the truth has a way of fighting back. 42-year-old Daniel Harper had been teaching history at Westbrook Secondary School in Manchester for nearly 15 years. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. But he was respected. Students loved his classes because he treated them like people, not numbers. Parents trusted him because he genuinely cared. And his colleagues knew him as the teacher who always spoke honestly, even when it was uncomfortable. That honesty would soon cost him everything. It started when Daniel noticed something strange. The school had recently announced budget cuts. Clubs were being cancelled. Classroom supplies were disappearing. Teachers were told there wasn't enough money. Yet Daniel kept seeing expensive renovations in administrative offices. New furniture arrived almost weekly. Computers were replaced long before they needed replacing. At first, he ignored it. But the numbers didn't make sense. As head of the history department, Daniel occasionally reviewed spending reports. The more he looked, the more concerned he became. Thousands of pounds seemed to be missing. He quietly raised questions with the school's deputy headteacher, Richard Collins, a 53-year-old administrator who controlled much of the school's finances. Richard brushed him off. "Leave the accounting to us, Daniel." But Daniel couldn't. Weeks later, he submitted a formal concern to the school's governing board. That was the moment everything changed. Within days, rumors began spreading through the school. Students whispered in hallways. Parents talked online. Teachers avoided him. Nobody knew where the story started, but suddenly people were saying Daniel had manipulated school records. Others claimed he was angry because he had been denied a promotion. Some even said he was trying to damage the school's reputation for personal gain. Daniel was stunned. The accusations were completely false. Yet they spread faster than the truth ever could. Then came the worst blow. The school announced that Daniel was under investigation for professional misconduct. The statement was vague. But people filled in the blanks themselves, and their assumptions were brutal. Parents demanded answers. Social media exploded with criticism. Students who once admired him began looking at him differently. Daniel's wife, Sarah Harper, a 39-year-old nurse, watched her husband struggle under the pressure. Every evening he sat silently at the kitchen table. The man who once inspired hundreds of students looked broken. Then the investigation ended. And Daniel was fired. Just like that. 15 years of dedication vanished in a single meeting. The school claimed it had lost confidence in him. No detailed explanation was given. No evidence was shown publicly. But most people assumed the school must have had a good reason. After all, why would a respected institution dismiss a teacher if he had done nothing wrong? Daniel packed his belongings and left. As he walked out of the building, students watched from classroom windows. Some felt sorry for him. Others believed the rumors. But a small group wasn't convinced. 16-year-old Emma Walker had been one of Daniel's students for 3 years. She knew him better than most. So did her friends Liam, Noah, and Sophie. Something didn't feel right. The teacher they knew wasn't dishonest. He wasn't reckless. And he certainly wasn't the kind of person being described online. Instead of accepting the rumors, they started asking questions. At first, they found nothing. But then Emma remembered something Daniel had once taught them during a lesson about historical investigations. Never start with what people believe. Start with what can be proven. The students decided to follow his advice. And that decision changed everything. Over the next several weeks, they collected information. They spoke with teachers who were afraid to speak publicly. They compared public school spending reports. They searched meeting records posted online. Slowly, strange details began appearing. Several purchases approved by Richard Collins seemed unusually expensive. Office furniture had been billed at nearly 3 times its market value. Technology contracts had gone to the same supplier repeatedly. And one company name kept appearing, a company nobody recognized. The students became more suspicious. Then Sophie discovered something shocking. The supplier's registered address matched an address connected to Richard Collins' brother-in-law. It could have been a coincidence. But it didn't feel like one. Still, suspicion wasn't proof. They needed evidence. Real evidence. Then came the breakthrough. A former administrative assistant named Helen Morris, age 48, contacted Emma privately. Helen had resigned months earlier. She had watched everything unfold and felt guilty for staying silent. What she revealed changed the entire case. Before leaving the school, Helen had saved copies of financial approval records and internal emails. The documents showed that Daniel's concerns about missing money had been accurate. More importantly, they revealed that Richard Collins had personally approved numerous inflated contracts. The emails suggested he knew exactly what was happening. But there was still one problem. The school board claimed Daniel had altered records. They needed proof that accusation was false. That's when Helen produced something nobody expected. Security records. The school's IT department maintained access logs showing who entered financial systems and when. The logs revealed that on the dates Daniel was accused of changing records, he wasn't even logged into the system. Richard Collins was. And there was more. CCTV footage from the administration office showed Richard accessing the financial database after hours on multiple occasions. The timestamps matched the suspicious record changes perfectly. For months, the wrong man had been blamed. Now there was proof. Undeniable proof. The students handed everything to the governing board and local authorities. An independent investigation was launched immediately. This time, facts, not rumors, led the process. The findings were devastating. Richard Collins had manipulated financial records, approved contracts connected to relatives, and used Daniel as a scapegoat after Daniel began asking questions. The truth finally came out. News spread across Manchester. People who had condemned Daniel publicly were stunned. Parents who had believed the rumors apologized. Teachers who had remained silent admitted they should have questioned the accusations. And the students who refused to stop searching became local heroes. A month later, Westbrook Secondary School held a special assembly. For the first time since his dismissal, Daniel Harper walked back into the building. Hundreds of students stood and applauded. Some were crying. Many teachers were too. The head of the governing board publicly apologized and offered Daniel his job back. Daniel stepped onto the stage and looked out at the students who had fought for him when almost nobody else would. His voice shook as he spoke. "I thought I had lost everything. But you reminded me that truth still matters." The room fell silent. Because everyone understood what he meant. Rumors had destroyed his reputation. Assumptions had cost him his career. Public opinion had judged him before the facts were known. But a handful of students chose evidence over gossip. Proof over assumptions. Proof over fear. Proof over noise. And because they did, the truth won. The next time everyone seems certain about someone's guilt, remember Daniel Harper. Remember how quickly rumors spread. Remember how easily opinions can be manipulated. And most importantly, remember that truth does not depend on popularity. Because in the end, facts don't shout the loudest, but they last the longest. And that's why, here on Proof Over Noise, we remember one simple truth: evidence speaks louder than opinion.